You know, you've been a part of being a vocal political person for an awful long time. There are those who say that...
It hasn't been that awful.
Well, long enough. Long enough. It's been wonderful, a wonderful long time, right?
Thank you.
I've heard lots of people say that America's not in a... like what white people in America are experiencing, what people of color have been experiencing in America forever.
Exactly.
It's not like this is a recession only for white people.
Right.
That this is what it's been like on reserves, and this is what it's been like for African Americans and Latinos from the beginning.
And for poor white people.
Yeah, is that accurate?
Well, the problem isn't racism, the problem is greed. And sometimes it's disguised as racism, but it's not really. Don't go for that. It's not racism. I mean, who hates Indians because we're brown or have feathers or something? Nobody. No, it's about greed. It used to be about the gold rush. Now it's about uranium and water. It just happened. We see it first. Right. You know, we see uranium coming from our lands. We see the uranium waste dumped on our lands. And white people don't see that. But when a white person goes back, you know, he turns on his faucet in the kitchen and, you know, pretty soon we realize that we all belong to that same river. So, in a way, it's a lesson, but it's a tough lesson, yeah.
And it's still going on.
It's still going on, but the more people who understand it and who don't want to put up with it anymore, you don't have to go out and carry a sign, you don't have to get mad, you just have to know, you have to learn how to vote, you have to really understand what's going on. Don't let it panic you, don't let it spook you, do something in your own neighborhood that you can do about it.
One way to do it is understanding and education. Reading your book, you get a real handle. I mean, you didn't write the book, but it's your life.
Yeah.
What was it like to share? Because you share a lot of heavy stuff in this book.
Yeah, I had a hard time as a kid. Thank God I was an artist, because it really did save me, because there were bullies in the neighborhood and in the house, and there were pedophiles in the neighborhood and in the house. And, you know, where I went was inwardly. I went to art. I went to painting and music and making up stories.
Pedophiles in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not just like...
It's not uncommon.
Right. But it is your reality.
It's reality.
I mean, you can't just retreat to art to get away from that, to survive that, can you?
Well, that's where I went instead of going out and playing with the other kids. You know, that kind of bullying... I mean, pedophilia is one thing, but it's basically bullying, you know. That kind of bullying that thank God we're hearing about it now so that we can address it and maybe make things better for kids.
We're often hearing about it after the fact, though, which is a problem.
Well, yeah, because that's the only time you find out. And, you know, as a little child doesn't know how to talk about that. I mean, I didn't know what to tell my mother. And she used to say, well, was he picking on you again? And I'd say, yeah. And she'd say, well, don't pick on her, right? I didn't know what to call it. There wasn't a name for it. And in those days, too, parents, it wouldn't occur to them, because nobody ever talked about child abuse in those days. They just didn't. So it was just a quiet little sorrow for me, and I made the best of it by coloring and making music and having my own kind of fun, playing with animals. But I wasn't very good at social things with kids.